let's jump to the note taking. The next thing we're gonna discuss together is how to do them and why they are so important. So, Alexei, let's talk a little bit about judges' notes. Uh, what are they? Why are they so important? Why we talk about them so much?
So, judging a skateboard competition is not just putting scores together to, formulate and create a ranking, a fair ranking. It's also being able to have everything written on your notes. So whenever there's something, a similar situation happening, you can go
Hmm.
back and you can read what you've written on your scoring sheets, and you'll be like, ah, yeah, because sometimes comparing two runs is, some runs are pretty similar. There's some
Yeah.
standard tricks that are coming back, so you're like, well, I might have seen that kind of run before. And by having really nice notes that you can reread, that you can explain, is really important, because then you can compare in a short amount of time and be really, really sharp when you have to put your score on the iPad and within the
Especially
limits.
at the events where you have 100 or more than 100 athletes competing in the
Especially.
same day. So what you are basically saying, like the written record of your notes helps you to cross-reference in between heats or, the competition phases and evaluate the performances more accurately and uh, and fairly. And basically,
The,
it helps the riders to be ranked according to their performances without too many discrepancies throughout the day. Because the
exactly.
worst thing, from my experience, is like when you start the competition and the points are on certain level, and then the day gets longer, and all of a sudden it starts to seem like either the judges are scoring it higher or too low because they are tired or they don't remember what they've seen a couple hours ago. So yeah,
Exactly. You said it. It's the most important tool, the
all right.
notes.
So it's the number one helping tool
Yeah.
for a judge at the event. But what is the other important role of the judging notes? What would you say? Imagine
Well,
me,
they
I'm a rider, and I
Mhm.
come and I go like, hey, why I didn't make the cut and this guy did?
they
Do
are
I
an
use?
evidence.
Hmm.
They are an evidence that can be used in case of any complaints after the
Okay.
competition phase. And the reason why your notes have to be clear and have to be readable, not only sometimes from you but also from other people, is because when there's a complaint, it's going to come directly to the head judge, and the head judge is going to have to explain why this or that person didn't make the cut. And if he has like all these notes that are readable, it's going to be much faster, much easier, and he's going to have the right arguments to
Okay. So
explain to
basically,
the
the
person that are complaining.
judging notes, first, they are your number one helping hand as a judge doing the
Yeah.
job right. And on the kind of the secondary level, not secondary when it comes to the importance, is that they are providing an evidence that you actually watch, did your job right, and give transparency on the judging
Yeah.
process and the evaluation of the final score for each rider. And it allows the head judge to defend
Yeah.
the
And
right
on
work
the
of the
sanction.
judging panel.
Yeah,
Okay, so
exactly. And on the sanction events, the note the judging sheets are archived,
hmm,
so they can be reused later on, because there can be a complaint after the end of the event. And that's
hmm,
why it's really important, because after the event, you're probably not there anymore to read your notes and explain it to the head judge. So he must be able to use your scoring sheets to respond to the complaint.
or ask you 7 hours later after you wrote that note, what did you actually mean? So
Exactly.
yeah, that makes sense. So Alexei, let's talk about the judging notes. Like, is there a way how to make them right, or is there a technique that judges should use and practice and work on to make the perfect notes that they can use? Because
Now,
judging by what
th-
we just discussed, notes are very important, and this is something that makes the judge feel more confident about himself throughout the event. So, is there a way to make a good notes?
I think it's pretty personal. It depends, there's no standard way to take notes. Every good judge, any good judge has his own technique or
Hmm.
her own technique to put notes together. It just it just needs to, like you said, it just needs to be a it's a tool, but it's also a support when it comes to explaining or to re
So there has to be
evaluating
like a
things.
system in it. There has to be like a system that you use on the same like the judging criteria. You have to have a system, abbreviations
Exactly.
or shortcuts or symbols that you use and you are able to
Yeah.
read at any given time and it makes the same sense at all times, right?
Exactly. You can't write all the names of the tricks. You know, it's not possible. You're not gonna have time to watch and write the name of the tricks at the same time. So you need to find your own technique. And
Okay.
sometimes it can be abbreviations, like you said. It can be, you can draw some stuff. You can use arrows. You can use signs, whatever you want to use. But the most important is at the end of the day, you're able to recreate the whole run for a specific athlete with your signs and your abbreviations and your notes that you took on your sheet.
Okay. I got few examples here.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
dive into it and let's see how
let me see.
the bad or the good notes look like, and let's talk about it a little more. So I'm gonna show uh, some notes that we collected on the way. So let's look at those. So what would you say about these notes? Like, to me, I see the sign that we see on the screen that it's wrong. And why do you think it's wrong,
Uh,
Alexei? To me,
well, for
first impression, like, I don't know what the first guy did at all. And I can only imagine recreating the run in my head after seeing 150 other guys skating that day, like T, X, K,
K
X,
X
I,
I
and a cross.
plus, and that gave him a 68. That's pretty good for these tricks
Or
that I don't know about.
69 actually. And
Oh,
then you
69. Yeah,
and then
sorry
you
for the
have the
first one.
then you have the other guy who is like line, 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 X, line, 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 line.
Hmm.
I can only imagine what kind of tricks that competition run was composed of. And
Yeah.
if I look at this, I don't even know who the judge was. So uh, if I come and I have my complaint and I'm one of those guys competing, we will probably not even find the judge who made those notes to help us to decode them, right?
No, but he'll be probably lucky that we don't find him, and he probably didn't write his name on the
You
scoring
mean he
sheet
did it
because he
on
didn't
purpose?
want, yeah,
Oh,
he
okay.
didn't want us to find him afterwards.
So basically, like when you look at the system, this doesn't tell you anything about what actually happened. Now let's
No, and
switch.
after
Okay.
after a long day and 120 contest participants, you don't even know if you've been asked to explain that. I'm sure you can't.
Yeah, that's true. Now here's another example of the runs. Now, on the first impression, this looks more sophisticated. It's got numbers. It's
Mm,
kind of nicely written, and when I look at these notes, like I realize one thing, like the first guy on the top, he has three 3, 3, 4, 2, 4, 3, 3, 4, and the score is 25, right? So I did the count.
It doesn't make
And
sense.
3 plus 3 plus 3, it's 9, plus 4, it's 13, plus 2, it's 15, plus 4 is 19, plus 3 is 22, plus 3 is 25, plus 4 is 29. So it doesn't even match the number that it's awarded for that kind of performance. And I don't know, a 3 doesn't look like a tray flip. And I don't know the trick that starts at 4.
No.
So these type of notes kind of present the same question, what actually happened? And when you look at these notes, at the scoring sheets, like the problem here is even more visible than on the previous sheet, because the numbers, they look completely the same.
Yeah.
And the awarded points, they don't match.
Yeah, the
And
sums don't match.
and the basically the decoding of what actually happened based on the one digit numbers, it's completely impossible. So this is not the way how to do notes,
No,
right?
that
Okay,
doesn't work.
I wouldn't want to be the head judge
No, me neither.
replying to the athlete's complaint having those notes in my hand. Like, that's a nightmare, and I don't wish this to any head judge around the world.
No.
All right, let's move to the next example. Like these are the judges' notes. We can see from the judging sheet that this is the scoring sheet of the Olympic street format. They look pretty sophisticated. They look pretty organized. So it's easy to read and orient yourself in it. What would you say about these?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good because if you look at just the first, let's say the first athlete, you can definitely recreate the run by just looking at the abbreviations of the tricks that are on the first line. And
Yeah,
then you can assume that on the second run, he did the same tricks when there's like two lines
I
like
can
this.
even read. I can
With
even read the tricks from my position. Like it's a
yeah,
backside kickflip, nollie flip, frontside toe slide, nose blend slide, backside Smith grind, crooks, and 270 lip. That's the first round.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
that's
it
amazing.
is.
And I didn't even wrote those notes.
So you're able to recreate the run. If you be the head judge, you're able to answer any complaint because you're able to read the notes of your judge
And
and the
as far
scoring
as I
sheets.
can see, the abbreviations of the tricks, they match, because looking
Yeah,
through the judges sheets and the notes, you can see that the same shortcuts, same markings are used for the same type of tricks. So it makes sense. It's got the system, plus it fits to the scoring sheet, which is an
yeah,
important part, because
yeah,
you need to be able to identify where it belongs when you make
yeah,
those notes. And if you don't follow the lines or the brackets or the windows that are designed on the scoring sheets, it will be very hard even for you as an author of those notes to
hmm,
find a way where it belongs.
yeah.
All right, nice. Let's look at the next scoring sheet. And
That's mine.
oh yeah, that's yours. Nice. So talk about the way that you use by writing your note. Do you have any personal tips on how to compose notes? Do you have any like helping tools that you use when writing notes to make it even
Ye-
more easy to read and decode when you need it?
Um, yeah, I'm using a lot of abbreviations. They're always the same because I try to practice them as much as possible. So all the size of the letters they're also important.
Hmm.
For example, a hubba, a big ledge is a big H to me, and if it's a small hubba, it's a small H. So I'm using these things, but I'm also using. So this is a park style thing. So for example, you can see on Hymana Reynolds' third run, there's a BSADE, which is a backside air on the deep end. DE is a deep end for me. But sometimes I'm also using like little drawings, especially on
Hmm.
street. What I do also to get prepared at any given competition, I'm always trying to draw the field of play as a shape on the paper, and I'm putting some abbreviations on the different obstacles or the different parts of the field of play,
Okay. So
and to get
when you make
familiar
the
with that.
so when you make the notes and you look at those little markings, you are able to even tell which obstacle it was, like you just
Exactly.
did with the Heymanas example.
Exactly. I'm not just putting the tricks, but I'm putting the tricks and where they've been done. Because for me, it's really important because obviously there's a difference, as we said, a big hubba of 10 stairs and a small hubba. There's not the same kind of tricks you're going to see on that.
Or the
It's
rails.
not as gnarly, the rails and everything.
And do you
So
also
I'm,
make markings like how the tricks was executed or how big it
yes,
was?
yes, I put arrows or plus and minuses. Mm.
Okay, that makes
So for
sense.
example, the arrows they give me an indication of where the tricks was done in which direction.
Hmm.
So sometimes people skate the hubba in the way up, so I get an arrow going up, and then I'm using the pluses and the minuses because sometimes during a run the trick is landed, but the execution is not that right.
Hmm.
And sometimes the tricks is done more than right, is exceptional. So I put several
Yeah,
pluses.
that makes sense. So basically, when you look back at your notes, you can recreate the run in your head. And when you cross-referencing between heats or between phases, you will be more accurate because it just refreshes your mind much easier. And it's like you've seen it right now. You have it in front of your eyes. But Alexei, like when we talk about these notes, like listening to you and seeing the system that you develop, this doesn't come from one day to the other, right?
No.
Like you work your way through, and it takes time, right? It takes time to develop the skills and to develop the system that is very personalized.
It takes time, and that's the reason why we said it. It's good to practice at home because the more you're going to do it, the more it's going to become a reflex when you're going to
Hmm.
be in the right situation. But it also depends on the discipline. Because, for example, I'm always taking that example that to me, the abbreviation that I use and the name of the spots or the pluses, the minus, the arrows, it's much condensed for park style than it is for street.
Hmm.
Because sometimes the names of the tricks in street, kickflip, backside tail slide, big spin out on the ledge, if you have even with the abbreviation, there's a lot of letters. So it takes
Hmm.
more time to write. So it takes more time from you to watch what's happening. So
Hmm.
it's a different strategy as well. And sometimes when I'm judging a street competition, I'm more writing without looking at what I'm writing because I don't want to miss the next trick. And I think it's more demanding for street than for park, but that's with my system. Maybe for some other people that are more used to judge street and that get different abbreviations, that's going to be easier for them for
I would
street
say
than
like
for park.
like like we said before, like every judge has to find his way and create
Yeah,
his own system and master it. Work on mastering it constantly because
exactly.
the higher you go on the ladder of the competitions and your position in a judge, the more demanding it is. And you just
Yeah,
don't want to do this to those guys to miss something or judge them wrongly because they are our peers, they are our friends, they are people that we respect for the way that skating and doing them justice.
exactly.
That's our duty. So the
You're right.
tip And advice for all aspiring judges: work on your system, find a way how it feels comfortable, how it is accurate, and how is it time efficient for you in the competition environment, and practice at home,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That's the best
Okay.
tips.
Thanks, Alexei. This was great, and I hope that
You're welcome.
our viewers and aspiring judges learn something. And we will see more nice notes rather than the UFOs that are hard to read and identify. But let's go to our next subject and topic of our episode.